two writers, one just starting out, the other a bestseller. Join James Blatch and Mark Dawson and their amazing guests as they discuss how you can make a living telling stories. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to the Self-Publishing Formula Podcast, a special edition live, sort of, from the London Book Fair.
Hello, James.
Hello.
How are you doing?
And what's behind us, Mark?
It's my office. No, it's the Oval Office.
It's the Oval Office.
Remember those of people who are not watching on YouTube.
Not everybody's watching on YouTube, but do you know what? This is an episode you should watch a little bit on YouTube, even if you're on your jog at the moment and listening to us audio only. We're at the London Book Fair, as I say, and it's a place where you get all the majors, traditional publishing, all the service industries publishing, a little bit of the independent writer-centric area which is behind us. But I have to say, whatever we say about the traditional industry, that is a fantastic publicity set for a new book. It's James Patterson's book, The President is Missing. They've got a bespoke Oval Office, complete with Secret Service in there, and it's cool. You'd love that if they did that for you.
I probably would. That's true. Yeah, maybe I'll do it myself.
Yeah, well,
when the new one comes out,
we should exactly.
I have a Milton lookalike. Perhaps you could. No, figure that.
I must look like an action hero. Okay, well look, we're going to introduce the next 3 episodes of the podcast here from the London Book Fair, and we're going to start with our 3 from the London Book Fair. Focus very much on writers because we've got a new product to talk about. Now, we mentioned it briefly before. We do get quite a few people in our community who are always thinking about ways of making their life easier as an author and a writer. Now, sometimes if that coincides with them being quite IT and tech savvy, they can develop this platform for themselves. And in this case, it's a platform that's now available for other people to use. So it's called ReaderLinks, and it's developed by somebody who's been an early friend of SPF's called John Logsdon.
Yeah, John took the course, the first Facebook Ads for Authors course. How long ago was that now?
2015.
2015, and John grew his email list from, I think it was 27 to 2,500. No, more than that. Maybe several thousand quite quickly. And John was one of our early testimonials. He's been a friend of SPF and us for some time now, and also has a background in software and was able to put his various skills, software, writing, all of that stuff to good use and put ReaderLinks together. Yeah.
So, John got together with a business partner for this, and we're talking to the 2 of them. So let's hear from John and ReaderLinks, and then Mark and I will be having a chat off the back of that. Okay, this is a 3-way, which sounds a bit dirty. We don't do this. We don't do this very often. We've got John Logsdon in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. It is north, isn't it? I've been to your house. I should know whether it's north or south.
Yeah, that's right.
North Carolina, yeah.
Frankly, when you get a little bit south of New York, or Washington anyway, until you get to Florida, it all looked more or less the same to me, so I wasn't entirely sure where I was, but somewhere in the Carolinas.
Same here.
Yeah. Welcome to America.
We stayed the night in a place called Florence, which I've been to Florence in Italy. It's beautiful, and now I've been to Florence in America, and it's...
Which is not...
wasn't the same, but it was very nice, very hospitable. Had lovely ice cream and nice chats with people. And welcome along, Ben. Your first time on the SPF podcast.
Yeah, first time.
Tell us a little bit about you first.
I am an author. I've been doing an urban fantasy series called Relics series. I just got into urban fantasy and really enjoying it, especially the sales numbers. This genre is incredible, and it's wonderful to be writing in a genre that I really love. I also teach at School of Visual Arts in New York City, a master's program. I teach marketing for visual storytellers. So, which can be, it's very fulfilling, but it's tough because, as we know, creative people, authors, etc., can kind of have a difficult time with marketing, sure. Which is one of the reasons we made ReaderLinks. Yep. And dad to a son and a husband to a wife, and just living the life.
Sounds like Gladiator.
Except with a different ending,
yes,
maybe.
Hopefully.
I don't know. We'll have to see.
Okay, well, look, welcome, Ben and John. And John, we know from the past that you're an energetic, entrepreneurial, inquisitive guy, I think, in this space. You're looking to find ways of of making life easier and automations. You've got a bit of a background in tech. And I think you and Ben together have come up with a product that we're hearing great things about, and we immediately liked right from the moment you approached us with it. So it's called ReaderLinks. Some of the people listening will be already on there and be using it. But for those who aren't, why don't you kick off, John, and tell us what ReaderLinks is?
Sure. So basically, ReaderLinks started out as a tool that, like you said, I'm inquisitive and I'm also a programmer. So I wanted to create something that would make my life simpler. And one of the things that I was doing was a bunch of work trying to use Bitly and various other URL programs. And so I just decided to write my own. That way I could put the links underneath each one of the book and silo them, each book that I have. And so anytime I wanted to, I could just click on one of the books and I could see all the links specifically for that, how they're doing, the click rates, everything else that was going on for it. And I shared that with a couple of folks, including Ben. And we just started, iterating from there. And the next thing you know, we're adding all of these other features to it, including auto tweeting and the ability to manage ARC teams, reader teams, just so on and so forth. It just grew and grew and grew. And then finally, we had a number of authors that were just using it who were kind of, friends and helping us, guinea pig it and so on. And next thing you know, people were saying, can you make this available? Because we've heard about this. And so we decided, okay, let's go ahead and do the industrial version of it, which took a bit longer than we had hoped.
It always does.
Yeah, it's always that. But so we did that. And then next thing you know, now we have everything from tracking your reader, your links per book. You have your own My Books page that you can do. You can do reader teams or ARC. We call them reader teams, but the same thing as an ARC team.
ARC team.
You can do, if you have like a blurb that you use for Amazon, you can instead, it's right in the book. So on ours, so you can just actually do it right there. And also we support now the Kdp Reports, and we also do ROI. So you can pull in your Facebook ads data and your Amazon ads data, and you can see what your ROI is on that. We're going to be working on, pulling in the BookBub ads data as well. And we just recently released the auto scraping for KDP so that it automatically grabs your data and, does that every 15 minutes, which is cool because I bring my phone around with me a lot. If I'm gone for 3 hours, I have to wait to get home to see, where my stuff is. But if I leave it running on a tab, then I can just refresh the page and, I see what's going on all the time. So we're doing a whole bunch of stuff, and it's just, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's one heck of a list. I had a hard time, following all of that, and yeah, I'm on the team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff.
Well, let me ask a couple of questions. So it started with you working out that you could track single books in their different channels. You needed to do that. And people do need to do that. And goodness knows, we become quite competent at spreadsheets in this business without this stuff.
Yep.
But what you've brought together, I guess, is not just papering over the lack of good dashboards, which you get with things like KDP and the other services. I mean, they do a great job in many ways, but often the data presentation isn't great. But you've also brought together your books, as I say, from these different channels. Ben, is that kind of the selling point of ReaderLinks?
Well, I think what we'd like it to be is to address some of the key pain points of all authors. There are fundamentals, right? And I think that you and Mark talk about this. There are parts of our author businesses that are always going to be the same. There are a lot of tactics that happen around that. But when we started to build a number of different tools, we realized that the tactics that we use, we need to be able to change. We need to be able to shift. We usually will need newsletters with some kind of social media platform. We need to know our sales, but one of the more important things is we do also really need to know about links. We need to be able to follow. That's the second most important data point for authors. This besides sales, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, you want to be able to when there's a sale, that's a solid piece of data. If you can figure out where it came from through the links, that is extremely valuable. So, we kind of wanted to put it all into one tool without making something that was kind of going to run out of steam after a while. So we were while the list is long, we want to make, and we're continuing to make, a product that really allows you to bring in things like a Twitter tool, like a calendar, like a link tool, even an Amazon description tool, something that brings all of your books into one place, allows you to see data about that book, the sales, the links, etc., with affiliate support, geo-friendly links, etc. But see it in one place instead of having several tabs open or checking several times during the day. You can have the fundamentals there, and there's always going to be little things you can go check out, but the fundamentals will be there.
Yeah. So, John, from an author point of view, and I've seen you've got. Your author life is a little bit complex. You've got at least three different series that I know of, slightly different genres, and I think you use the same name across them. Or there's two of you write some of the books and so on. So, has this made a tangible? If you can take a step back, I know you're going to say yes, it's great. But take a step back from an author point of view. What sort of tangible difference has it made to your everyday author life?
It makes, you're right, I'm biased, but the point is that the reason I coded this is because my author life was a pain. I write a lot of books. I write them fast. I get them out quickly. And I do write a lot of series. So a few things. Number one of the things I hated every time I released a book, I had to go and create 25 links every single time. And since I had to create 25 links every time, I didn't want to deal with that. So now I have this ability inside of the ReaderLinks to create what's called a core link. So I just created 25 links one time in the core links. Every time I add a book, I automatically get 25 links added to that book. So that's one pain point done. Mm-hmm. Another one that was huge is the ARC teams, just as another example. So, for example, what I would end up with there is I would have a Google sheet, plus some people would send me emails with, hey, we found this problem, we found this bug, whatever, typos, grammar issues, story issues, continuity issues, things of that nature. And they would fill all that. Well, now with ReaderLinks, the reader team actually they apply to be a part of my team. So number one, I can see how have they participated in the past. I don't necessarily, I don't require anybody to leave a review, but I require participation. Mm-hmm. And so I can see that they report issues, or do I have notes on there that says, this person asked a lot of questions and was really participative in the group, or they shared on Facebook, they tweeted, whatever. I can see that information, or I can see, did they leave a review because they post in there, here's where I left my review and here's a copy of it, or here's a link to it. So I can go in and see. And so I don't require a review again, but I require at least participation. So what I can see is the next time a person applies for one of my books, I don't have to go hunting through spreadsheets. I don't have to try to remember what this person did. I can see right there, this is their participation level, and I can approve them or decline them at that point. Plus, when they go to submit issues to me, I get 300 issues, let's say, in a book that are reported. I don't have to go through emails and remember all the places, go through Google Sheets or my own spreadsheets. I don't have to manage it. I just go straight to ReaderLinks. I see all of the open issues. I can choose each chapter to see which ones are in which. I go ahead and fix them, and I click, I do a response, like I'll say fixed, or if it's a question, I'll answer the question, then I click closed. It moves to the closed list. And it just makes life incredibly easier dealing with those things. So those are two primary things that allowed me. I want to touch real quick, though, on something that Ben said about the links and being the important data point. What we found is that it's the tracking against, you can actually see it when you look at the Kdp report, and you can see the links, and you can kind of see the correlation of it going up and down with things, which is really cool. You're never going to be able to know exactly where a sale came from, as long as they keep the black box on Amazon, the way that they have it. But it does help you to try to figure out what a correlation is, or what your trends are across the board. And it's that kind of thing has been very valuable to us.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really important thing, Ben, isn't it? Because occasionally authors will do things that they cannot directly track because you don't get Amazon's behind the scenes data.
That's right.
You have to second guess it a bit. And I guess this really helps you do that.
The best way to do that is to kind of own it. And I think that what's one of the kind of the philosophies, if you will, behind what John and I are doing. We want people to take this seriously. We want this to be a business for them. They're absolutely an art, absolutely a craft, absolutely something that fills a part of us that we need to write. But we also, for a lot of us, we want to make a living at it, and to do that, we need to treat ourselves as small businesses. And one of the most important aspects of being a business is to follow the data and to track, because there is no growth without tracking the data. And you can. I think the thing about that is tough for authors is the first of all, getting that premise down as being something that actually applies to you, but then the work of actually figuring out where, how to make these links, how to track them, how to get data out of them that makes sense. I'm sure it's something that you and Mark and the team deal with as well. It's a tough thing for me to get, and I think it's a tough thing for everyone. And that ReaderLinks is not there yet. We're still working on it. It has some great insights, great data. You can even use Google Analytics to get more detailed information if you use our WordPress plugin, which allows you to use your own domain for your marketing links. But I think it's the kind of thing where you've got to take that couple hours to do it. You've got to set it up. You've got to get your head around it. And then you just have to figure out what you want out of this. Do you want to sell 100 copies of this ebook this month? Well, go put your stuff out there, track the links, look at the data, see where your sales could have been coming from, and improve on the stuff that works and stop doing the stuff that doesn't. And hopefully that is something that ReaderLinks can help people do. Spot those things that are working and really, push the other stuff to the side.
Yeah, and I suppose that brings me on to my next point, really. Perhaps one for you, John, is that how much work is involved for the author when they first get onto ReaderLinks?
It's a good question, actually,
That's
because
a great question.
there are other KDP tools out there where folks get stuff like instant gratification. But with our system,
push a button and go.
Yeah, with our system, it wasn't originally configured as a KDP tool. It's not a KDP tool, but it does allow you to pull in your KDP reports and stuff. So people are instantly comparing it to other things like that. But ReaderLinks is really a very large system. It has a lot of stuff, and we try to cover all of the pieces, and we still have pieces to add, but cover as many of the pieces of all the things you have to do anyway, and you're using 10 different systems to do it just in one spot. So you don't have to go to 10 different places to do the same thing in one spot. But setting it up, it can be a little bit time consuming, especially if you have a lot of books.
A lot of books, yep.
Now, one of the things that we are planning to do going into the future here is to find ways to make that simpler, make it faster for people. One thing is, for example, if you download your 90-day KDP report and then upload it for the first time, then we can go ahead and grab all of your books and put them in there for you. But we still have things like, well, what about all of my ISBN numbers? What about all that? That stuff doesn't come across in the KDP report unless, of course, you're publishing all of your paperbacks through theirs, through the Amazon system as opposed to CreateSpace, for example. So that doesn't all come through. Also, what about Audible? What about Audible US versus Audible UK? All of these things that happen there. So we're trying to figure out ways to make that smoother so that it can pull all that data in. But right now, yes, it is a bit of work.
It can take. I think the least amount of time it's taken, from what I've seen in the feedback from customers, is about an hour. For several books. And I think that, again, to John's point, it just comes down to some of the data you have to fill in manually. Eventually, one day that'll be automatic. But for now, this, again, as John said before, this started as a project that was really about making our business easier to spot trends, easier to see the big picture. And it's really grown. We don't want it to grow too quickly. We have a really good, tight, small community right now on Facebook, and we're having a good time getting feedback from them. But I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I think the product that we have, I use it. It's open 24/7, so it works.
Yeah. And so a lot of that effort, just to point out again, a lot of that effort is front loaded. But once you get there, it then eases your life a lot.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the thing.
Yeah. It's what I like about this is a very SPF philosophy here, in that it's not going to be for the author who's at arm's length from the data and the frontline marketing wise. Yeah. It's for the author who's in the weeds and knows that that's where the differences are made. And the SPF messages, you need to be that author. You shouldn't be the author at arm's length, because that's not the world we live in now.
And it all comes from honestly, when you were sitting at my house doing the filming of me and you were asking these questions, one of the things that came up is I said, Mark had taught me one thing that was the most important of all the things that I learned from him, was that this is a business. So if you're coming into ReaderLinks and not thinking with that mindset, you might actually find yourself frustrated right now, because there's a lot of there's a lot to the system. It's not intended just for the fly-by-night customer. It is intended for somebody who really wants to, dig down into their business and get this stuff rolling. And we have a lot that we're adding, of course. But it's just it is front-loaded work. You do have to put in the effort to get there, and we're willing to meet with people and do like a 30-minute discussion with them, and a video to help them get set up, to show them different things. We've done that with a number of people, and once they start using it, the majority of these authors that are really hardcore authors that are serious about their business and so on, it takes them a couple of days to really get things moving around. Once they're ready to go, they're like, this is great. And so that's what we agree with you, in other words.
Yeah, I mean, that philosophy is one that I wish I'd had. And I wish that, because this was 2011 when I got into this business, I made the worst decisions of my life at that point. I left my job because I thought, I was going to write a book and it was going to, sell like crazy, and I was going to make a living out of this. And, it didn't work out that way. And I think that when John got into the business, he has that kind of bold, also extremely, bluntly honest kind of way about him. And when, we had worked together, previously, and he had that kind of, like I jumped in without thinking. He jumped in with thinking. So that's always a good thing. But I think the key to taking yourself seriously is actually getting somebody else to. So if you can make a friend in this business, just one buddy that kind of fills out your team, kind of begins to build a team. Our team now, like the people I could consider part of my community, is, it's probably, close to 20 people that I would consider like, this guy is awesome. She's amazing. I'm going to ask her for help, whatever. I think that's where the professionalism starts, is when you actually make that link with another author who doesn't necessarily fill in your weaknesses or whatever, like things like that, but just somebody to talk to, because it is such a lonely business. That's really, I think, the first step to beginning to take yourself seriously as a business.
Hang around the people you want to be like. Yeah.
Absolutely. Definitely in your case, John.
Yeah. So so you've launched it, and we'll talk about the price and the plan structure at the moment in a moment. But first of all, from your point of view, how's the launch gone?
Great.
It's going really well. It's a launch of software, so you are fully expecting bugs. You're fully expecting issues to arise. You're fully expecting people to compare it to other people's products instantly. All of that kind of stuff, but we've had some issues. We've had some things we've had to correct real time. That's going to end up happening, over and over again. We're doing a push today, which obviously is, when we're recording this, we're doing a push. So by the time the podcast comes out and stuff, there'll be a lot more that's in the system and so on. But it's going pretty well, actually. I'm kind of impressed with it.
Yeah, the usability stuff, we're going to work on some of that. That's been the biggest feedback. Just kind of how do we maneuver around? How do I get into the system? And we'll be addressing that.
Yeah, and you're at that stage, particularly happens with software, I think, where you're maneuverable yourselves at the moment because it's kind of fresh and new, and you want to get that right now, because best will in the world, 3 or 4 years down the line, and we see this with MailChimp and stuff, they can't change the fundamentals anymore. They're too big, and hopefully that will be your problem until 3 years, but now's the time, isn't it, to think, let's stop doing that and do this in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that might help people, and we try to be very transparent about what we're doing. I mean, the bottom line is we're authors too. We're not trying to price gouge anybody. We're not trying to deal with any of that. We want to make a system that we want to use. But the one thing that comes up is that, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. We're like, yeah, so do we. But each one of them takes time to develop. And as you just pointed out, when you get 3 years down the road, your system is getting larger and larger. And every piece you put on that system causes ramifications throughout the system. So you have to be even more and more careful as time goes on, which means you have to select very carefully what you want. So we just, recently, and we also drive that through the community. We recently put up a poll on our group and basically asked them,
what do you want?
What do you guys want? And we gave them the top 5 options that we're ready to work on next as soon as we're done with this current thing that we're on. And, we're getting feedback from people saying, here's what we want. So that's how we end up prioritizing things. The community drives the product at this point.
Great.
And always.
you better tell us how much it is.
Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, it's usually $19.99, but we're going to be offering your listeners a deal on that. The coupon code will allow you to get it for $14.99 per month if you pay monthly, or $9.99 per month if you pay annually, which is $119.
Yep.
Okay.
Per year.
The annual fee with the coupon code, we're going to give a link out in a moment to get the coupon code. The annual fee with that makes that a very, very affordable thing if it's going to save you a lot of time. And something we'll come on to in a moment, I will get a link out in a second, is I want to talk about how this makes you money as well, because if it's done right, it should do. The link, by the way, to get that coupon code that the boys have very generously donated to SPF podcast listeners, if you go to selfpublishingformula.com/ReaderLinks, we'll send you out that code, and you can go to ReaderLinks.com, enter it and set yourself up with that discount. So yes. Also, just to recap, $14.99 a month with the discount code, works out at $9.99 a month if you pay a year in advance.
Annually, which comes to $119, and that's locked in. It doesn't go back up after a year. So
yeah, that's brilliant. That's great.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
The price might go up, but
sure.
It's not. Yeah, not. It won't go back to the normal price after a year.
Okay. So I wanted to come on to that. So if you get this right, because one of the things that authors are guilty of, in fact, frankly, every business person is guilty of, is they put a lot of effort into things that don't make them money, and they kind of ignore things that are making them money. And the reason they do that is they can't see.
Yeah.
The data's not presented to you in a palatable enough fashion for you to make those decisions. I'm going to stop doing that and I'm going to start doing that. But I think that's what ReaderLinks is trying to get to, isn't it? Perhaps, John, you could take that.
Absolutely, it is. We have struggles with it. It's easier with Facebook because Facebook gives you actual daily data, so that you can download each one of your day's data. Amazon currently doesn't, so we basically have to work on baseline data, meaning that what you upload at 5 o'clock today, let's say is, you've paid $100 or whatever, and then tomorrow it looks like you've paid $5. Well, that's because the difference between 100 and 105 is $5. What we really want Amazon to do, of course, is to provide us the same daily reports like Facebook does, and then we can give you much more accurate data. So it's those types of things are always going to happen. They're going to come up. We are working on like BookBub ads, bringing in their reports as well, things of that nature. But absolutely, it's a huge issue, and just the ability for me, for example, I want to point this out. I'm going to toot my own horn here for a second, but I wanted to point this out because you guys were very instrumental in this. Mark's course and your help and everything that you guys have done. As of December 15th, I am a full-time author.
Fantastic.
So, no more. And a ReaderLinks developer. Obviously. But
that's all the stuff.
My point is, I'm not working for anybody else anymore, and that a lot of that comes from the fact of application of the things that you guys have taught me and so on. But now it's even more important for me to know this information because now it pays for my house, it pays for my car, all that being an author. And so therefore, when I look at, like I'm looking at my screen right now, for example, I can see that, yesterday I made the revenue of $333 and my ad spend was $40. So it's telling me my ROI right here on ReaderLinks is $292.85 for yesterday, which is 724% ROI. That's a good ROI.
That's a good day.
And that's based on my Facebook ads. It's based on my Amazon ads and everything else that's coming across there. And I can see what's happening today so far. I can see the trend of what's going on. I can also look at this month, see how much my ROI is this month, how much is trending this month. I can see all of that stuff. And we're adding in the ability, we're going to be adding in the ability coming up here in the future to allow you to also put in things like, I had a bargain booksy. That was $40 for that day. I had a BookBub. That was $260 that day, and so on.
So costs, most costs.
Cover costs, any cost, basically. If you add in the cost value for a particular day, it will go against your ROI for that day, for that month, etc. And so just the ability to know, here's how much I'm making, here's how much I'm spending, here's how much I'm actually getting, back from it. That is huge.
Yeah, it is. And I think if I could just add to that, the other tool which surprised me and how effective it is was a very simple tool that we added. And you don't need to get ReaderLinks to do this, but we always need to make notes of, I call it a marketing journal or a diary What worked, what didn't? What's your sense? Yes, you can look at reports, you can generate reports, but what specifically did you do that day? So I keep a daily journal in ReaderLinks because it has a calendar, and I just named it diary. And I just say what I did today. And so I can go back and make little notes about what I'd had done on the fringes of marketing or promotion that did work or didn't work. And I think that's one of the important things to do is because if you write it down, I think we all know this, it just becomes so much more real. And you think you're going to remember this, you think you're going to remember that. And, we don't.
Yeah, you do. You need to. The data takes you so far. I completely agree. Ultimately, you do have a sense of stuff, and something might not be working for 2 or 3 months, but it's going to be the one in the long run. Right. So you've got to have that sense as well. But this can only help, right? Having this information. So
exactly.
So it's great. And I should say we're not affiliates, right? I don't think you do affiliates. Do you?
Well, what do you mean by affiliates?
We don't get a cut of anyone who signs up to ReaderLinks.
Oh, no.
I just want to make that clear to people. It sounds like the reason I'm talking this up is because SPF is taking it. We're always transparent about that, and we're not taking a cut of this. This is,
No, you're not.
We're proud of this because it's come from the SPF community, a couple of guys, and that's brilliant. And the feedback we did our own. You probably know, John, that when you approached me, we did our own little interviews with people and sent it out to people, and we got our own feedback back from that, and that was the reason we went forward with it with you, because we got nothing but very positive reviews of what ReaderLinks can do for an author.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you did do is provide a coupon code to folks who signed up for SPF because and we appreciate that. But we do not provide you any affiliate monies for that.
But I would like a beer next time I'm in North Carolina. North
Carolina, yeah. Yeah, we should coordinate that. Get over there, you get over here.
Yeah, well, we're coming to New York in the summer. Maybe we'll see you there, Ben.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be in the city.
There's a plan is being hatched potentially to drive from New York to Montreal, which I thought would probably take us past your front door, won't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Are you going to go to
my front door?
We're going to go to Nink as well, yeah. So
I'm actually planning that one this year. So hopefully I'm going to Coastal Magic this weekend, or actually I'm leaving tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah, okay.
Convention. So I'll be there this weekend. If any of they won't hear this podcast at that point.
Probably going to go out in May.
Right. That's right.
They're all going to be down there and they go, where is he?
Only the time travelers among them who can go back. Okay, that link again, it's selfpublishingformula.com/ReaderLinks to get the discount code, and we will probably bundle in a code for people who sign up to the next course launch. In fact, for where I'm standing, it probably will be a launch in between recording this and it being launched and it being broadcast, but we'll stick a code out if you're happy with that as well, again, guys, because that helps everyone. So brilliant. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. Really good luck with this. Thank you for putting the time and effort into something that makes authors' lives easier and more profitable, which is what the old SPF philosophy is all about.
Yeah,
that's our goal.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. So that's the ReaderLinks. We should say right at the beginning that other author dashboards are available, but it's an exciting entry to the market.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
And I should tell you that there is a special offer, of course, for SPF podcast listeners. So if you go to selfpublishingformula.com/ReaderLinks, all one word, there will be a discount. I think I'm right in saying it's a discount for life off the price of ReaderLinks. So that would be an excellent thing for you, just because you're listening to the podcast. Because we look after people who listen. If you're in SPF, you're part of the family.
Yes. Someone just walked past us, podcast listeners. James almost punched him. And he didn't punch him.
No, I didn't. Well, the Secret Service should have surely launched in and rugby tackled him to the ground.
Anyway, move on.
We should talk about London Book Fair because we're here, and a little preview for next week's podcast, because we're going to be talking to a man called Jasper Joffrey who started his own publishing company, and I am hugely admiring of what he's done. It's very exciting, new area, kind of publishing company, but very, I hate using 2.0 and 3.0, but very indie kind of in the way that he operates.
Yeah, he's a smart cookie, and took the ads course last year and has put those lessons into really good effect in selling. I think he told us one of his authors has just sold her 1,000,000th book.
Yeah.
I've read those books and I can see why. So yeah, Jasper's great.
I think
also,
it's a millionth book through him. She's done 4 million in total. But
is that right?
Yeah,
okay,
a million through him. Yeah.
No, so she done really, really well. And Jasper's also, as he mentioned, it was quite nice to find someone to talk to who likes geeky book sales stuff as much as we all do. So it was really good.
So that's Jasper next week, and that's it. I felt for the first time since we've been coming to London Book Fair, we felt like we were properly here because we've sat down having a chat about publishing.
Well, I have a chat about publishing every time I come here, James. But yes, it was a good one. It was. I haven't heard the podcast yet, so I'm looking forward to getting into that next week.
Amazon are a little way behind us, and Darren Hardy, who's been on the podcast before, is holding fort there. It is. People often say to me, is it worth coming to the London Book Fair as a writer? And I think that one area there in some of the sessions they do, and you took part in one of those this morning, the answer is probably yes, but that doesn't mean that the other 80% is worth it. Probably isn't.
It definitely is worth coming in, even the other 80%. So YouTube viewers won't be able to see this, but as I look out in that direction, there are 50,000, 60,000 pound stalls laid out with Bonnier, Gardner's, Ingram, Hachette, Macmillan, all the big publishers are here. And even though those guys may feel very distant to us, it's impossible not to be enthused as you, because we're all selling books. That's what we're doing.
And we all love books.
For me to walk down there and come up to the little cupboard where they keep us, a very big cupboard, it is very enthusiastic. It makes me feel very enthusiastic, and it's a good shot in the arm that I can sell books just as well as these guys can. Even better, I might suggest.
Better. Good. Okay, look, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Don't forget you can get a discount on ReaderLinks if you go to selfpublishingformula.com/ReaderLinks.
There's a pigeon.
There is a pigeon flying around in here. It's a big cavernous hall. We're going to be back at the London Book Fair next week with that interview with Jasper. Don't miss it. Until then, what do we say, Mark? We say have a good week
writing and a good week selling. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingformula.com for more information, show notes, and links on today's topics. You can also sign up for our free video series on using Facebook ads to grow your mailing list. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.